Hey guys, Mixed Media Girl here. So last week I put out the Ask Me Anything video where I said ask me anything about, art, myself, my life, resin, acrylic pouring, etc. I got over 100 responses so far. So I'm going to do 20 today, and I think I'll just break this into different segments over the next few weeks. And if you still have questions that you want to ask, please click on the link to that video. It'll be in the description box, and go ahead and ask your question on that video. And I'm going to just, for now, probably do like a segment a week answering as many questions as I can. And I picked these kind of at random. Some of them, I wanted to kind of do different categories, and some are just really quick to answer. So I threw those in there as well. I'm not going to say that I'm going to do 20 questions each time, but all right. So first question here from Lori. And also, I apologize ahead of time if I butcher anyone's names. But from Lori here, says, I use Elmer's Glue All Water Floetrol and a few drops of silicone in each cup. Why am I getting little divots on my dried pores? So the only reason I know that you would be getting divots would be because of the silicone. So I recommend using either much less silicone or none at all. So try cutting the amount of silicone that you're using down like in half. You really need a tiny, tiny amount. Even like 1 drop per cup will make a huge difference. So try cutting that down and see if that works. Kurt asked tips for doing acrylic pours on items with uneven surfaces such as masks, 3D printed objects, figurines, etc. So basically my 2 tips are, 1, tape off any parts that you don't want. Like if you're doing a mask, you probably don't want to paint the back of the mask. So tape and plastic that off. And then 2, always just prop it up on something. And you may have to do a few layers depending on how many sides the thing has that you want to paint and whatnot. But pretty much if you just prop it up like I do with the vases, obviously a vase is an uneven surface, and that works just fine. And just keep in mind that you may have to do more than 1 layer depending on how many surfaces it has. Hope that helps. All right, and then someone wrote here, when I have a paint pour mega fail, can I just wash the paint off the canvas immediately, or do I have to wait until the canvas dries and scrape the paint off? Also, how many times can I reuse a canvas? That's from Miss Jacob. So yes, you can absolutely wash it off immediately, and honestly that's usually probably the best or the easiest. And I've done that several times. You can also let it dry and then paint over it. Those are both options. In terms of how many times you can do that, I'm not totally sure. It probably depends on the quality of your canvas and how you wash it, really. But there was one canvas that I think I washed off like 3 times before finally leaving it be on like the 4th painting that I did on there, and that seemed to work just fine. So I don't know that there's specifically a limit. I would just wash it, let it fully dry, like fully, so probably at least a couple days, and then come back and do your new pour on it. All right, Olga asked, are metallic paints poured or mixed differently than other deco art paints? No. Metallic paints, I would mix them just the same as any other paints. I don't mix based off of brand or type of paint. I mix based off of consistency and thickness of the paint. So if it's a heavy body paint versus a fluid paint, that's how I'm going to mix it. Not based off of a brand or metallic or not, or matte or glossy. Doesn't really matter. Mix them all the same. All right, and then someone said here, Heather, with all the different paints you've used, which ones do you find that work the best for you? If you have more than one, rank from your favorite to least favorite. Well, the good thing is I haven't found a paint yet that doesn't work for me. So that's a hard to answer question. My favorite is the Artist Loft Flow Acrylics. I've used so many other paints though. Like I love to use Liquitex Basics. I love to use the Artist Loft Tube paints. I love the Blick Rick paints. I like the Arteza paints. I like Deco Art. I like the folk art paints, Color Shift, all kinds of different paints. So there's really no wrong. I haven't yet found one that didn't work. One, I have heard of others that didn't work from other people, but none that I have tried thus far. And I've used a lot of different craft paints and whatnot. House paint. It's all been fine. All right. And then favorite kitty cat said, I know it's been discussed a lot, but adjectives about paint consistency would be amazing. Is it like eggnog, clam chowder? I hope your paint's not like clam chowder. That would be bad. Consistency is my biggest issue, so anything more you can describe would be amazing. That is an excellent, excellent question. I have heard it most often described as like warm honey, but I think more like maple syrup. So you don't want it watery, like it's not like tea or water, right? But you don't want it also super thick. And sometimes I think saying warm honey can give people a bit of a thicker idea. So, I mean, if you take honey and you put it in the microwave, that may be correct consistency. But I think just on its own, probably maple syrup is the closest that I have come to accurately describing it. I think that works. Okay. So next we have from Ramaya, I think is how you say it. For someone who wants to try this out for the first time, what do you recommend them to get for the basic materials used, and roughly how expensive is getting into acrylic paint pouring? All right, so how expensive is an impossible question to answer because that would depend on where you live and what you're buying. But let's go over the basics because you can get into paint pouring for really just a few dollars even. I went to the dollar store and I picked up 4 different paints, so that was $4. And then I picked up like they had particle board kind of surfaces, so that was another $1. I picked up the cups and the stir sticks and glue. So all total, basically I picked up, it was like $10 worth of stuff that I could make probably at least 10 or 15 pours from. So I would do that. Go real cheap, like just start with craft paint, start with things you probably even have around the house like WD-40 for if you want to try silicone. You can pour on wood, you can pour on cardboard, you can pour on canvases, you can pour on glass, all kinds of things. So start with things around your house or just really cheap canvases even. Like people think canvases are not cheap, but they're honestly usually more cheap than other things that you might try at the dollar store. I get the 40 pack of 8x10 canvases at Michael's for $40. That's $1 per canvas. And that's like tons of practice you can have right there, and they're not going to warp on you or do anything else. So that's what I would recommend actually, is getting craft paint, really cheap craft paint, getting some glue, and or Floetrol if you have it is just as cheap as glue. If you live near a Lowe's or Home Depot or wherever where they sell it, Floetrol is just as cheap as glue. And then yeah, just cheap canvases. So that's what I recommend. All right, and then someone else asked, Estrella, I'm new to the fluid painting field and was wondering if you can mix mica powder to white to get wonderful colors like the resin and use it for pouring. The unfortunate answer is no. Mica powder will not really mix into a liquid of any kind. Like if you try to mix it with water or a pouring medium or something like that, it's not going to mix in. It does mix into the resin, but I've never been able to mix it into anything else, and trust me, I have tried. And basically you just get these little like kind of chunks, so it'll be kind of chunky where it can't fully mix in. And it may work if you maybe mix it, leave it for a while, mix it again, leave it for a while, mix it again, but it would be really difficult to mix in to a liquid, so I would not recommend doing that. All right, Nikki asked, what's the difference between resin painting and acrylic pours? Well, that's like apples and oranges. The only thing they have in common is that they're both fluid painting. Other than that, they're 100% different. Resin is just a completely different substance. And yeah, it dries differently, you use it differently, you mix it differently, everything's different about it. It generally comes in the 2 parts, the resin and the hardener. You can mix it with mica powders and all kinds of different things. It takes 24 hours to dry, and that's a hard, fast rule. Some will cure faster, but it's going to take basically 24 hours to cure. And then it is like hard like glass or plastic. Acrylic paint is just that. It's acrylic paint. So it's fluid, but it doesn't dry like glass or plastic. An acrylic pour is usually going to take a few days to dry, and it just moves completely differently than the resin does. So they're just totally different materials. All right, then Gina Marie asked several different questions. So first is, did you build the shelf that your paints are on? Yes, I built these with my dad, and basically we got these from 2 pieces of wood from Home Depot. We kind of set up a frame and we put it all together and then put it on the wall. So we pre-built the shelf and then attached it to the wall. And even the wall is just like a really thin MDF kind of stuff that we got from Home Depot. Really cheap. So it was actually really inexpensive to set that up. And then she asked, how did you set up your ideal art studio? Well, I built these shelves. I built the shelves, I put in the air conditioner, and then I cleared off a bunch of drying space. That's pretty much it. It's still not ideal. I still have temperature issues in here, bug issues, etc. So, but it's a work in progress, and it's much better than it was. When you film your tutorials, do you use a tall tripod, or is it on your workstation? So for that, I'm going to say check out the video that has the my work setup. Mostly I film it on this wall arm. I just set my phone on top. That's covered in that video. But I also do use a tripod, and it's just a $30 tripod that I got from Best Buy. You just want one that has a cell phone attachment if you're using your cell phone to video, which I do. All right, and then she had a lot of questions. What's your favorite time of the day to art? That is all day, every day. But mostly first thing in the morning and then late at night. For whatever reason, in the middle of the afternoon, I really don't feel like doing anything. All right, and then do you listen to music, podcasts, or silence while you art? I'm going to say mostly silence, because I'm either videoing or I just think a lot. And it usually doesn't occur to me to even listen to music. I do sometimes, though. All right. Sorry, I accidentally closed this. Okay, next questions. This is from Lena, I think it is. And she asked also a few questions regarding resin paintings. If you don't have a torch but happen to live in a hot climate, could you set the resin piece in the sun to get rid of air bubbles with a screen over it to keep crawlies off of it, of course? I don't think that would work. I haven't personally tried it, but I'm pretty sure the answer is no. And I wouldn't try it. I would not take my piece outside, even if it was covered with a screen, because there's still dust and other factors out there that won't be caught by a screen. And I'm going to say pretty much 99% no. All right, what's the significance of the tattoo on your forearm? That is my anniversary. My husband has the same tattoo. It's a Celtic love knot with our anniversary. Does your clothing merch come in super large sizes at all, like 5X? Yes, they do. All right, and then Brittany, Everyday Art by Brittany, asked, 1, can temp affect the drying process? That is absolutely yes, 100%. It can make your painting dry in 24 hours or less, to up to a whole week, depending on the temperature. Generally, the hotter the temperature, the faster it will dry. And that applies to resin as well. If it's cold, resin will take forever to cure, and your acrylic pour will also take forever to dry. Okay, and then she asked also with skins, same question, but with skins. And she said she had some dry recently in low room temp, and they crack and break when trying to peel off of plastic. So that is kind of like the, think of when you freeze something, it's going to be much more liable to break. It's not going to be pliable. So yes, in that case, it's not really so much the drying as just the temperature. And when it's warm, it's going to be more bendy. When it's cold, it's going to be more brittle. So I would just wait till it's warm or get a heater if you can. And then what is your favorite brand of paint aside from Artist Loft Flow acrylics? Ooh, I'm going to say probably the Liquitex Basics is pretty much generally my go-to second. Okay, now Justin asked, are you single? Sorry, Justin. No, I'm not. Okay, Bridget's Creations asked, when did you and Johnny meet and how? So I used to put on these huge art shows. I haven't done one in a couple years, but we'd have like 10 to 15 visual artists, musicians, poets, chefs, etc. And I did these several times a year. I had a business partner, and she was in charge of getting all of the musicians and poets and performers, and I was in charge of getting all the visual artists. So she knew Johnny and had his band come play, and that's when we actually met in person, which was in like July 2012 or something like that. Yeah. And that's how we met. All right, and then what is the easiest way to resin a 3D object? With that, I'm going to say with the Quick Coat, Stone Coat Countertops Quick Coat, because you want something that will cure much faster than a regular art coat or something. Otherwise, it will all pour off of the object. So I would use that. And also make sure you have a warm, a good temperature for it to cure properly. Let's put it that way. Okay, and then what is the best sealer varnish you would recommend at Walmart, Home Depot, or Lowe's? I personally like the Rust-Oleum Crystal Clear Enamel Spray. That's the one I recommend. You can get those at, I think, all 3 places. Okay, good. And then Carrie asked, I want to ask a lot about how you stay so calm and gentle as a spirit, and do you think there's a spiritual connection to your art? Well, I would have to say that teaching art and dealing with children a lot has really helped, plus having my own child. And then also just working on myself. I do a lot of work on myself as a spiritual being, and my goal in life is to be the best person that I possibly can. I don't like getting upset or mad at someone. I don't like someone else making me upset, because no matter what someone else does, I don't feel like I should get upset. You know what I mean? I should be able to control that. So I do a lot of studying and learning and whatnot myself to become the best person that I possibly can. Plus just lots of practice, and I think really caring about other people really makes a big difference. If you truly, truly care about other people, then you're able to be much more calm and patient, and yeah, you really just try to get all the joy you can out of life. And then the second part, do you think there's a spiritual connection to your art? Yeah, absolutely. I have noticed, depending on my mood, things will change, or, depending on what's going on in my life, things will change in my art. So absolutely, I definitely think that there is. Okay, and then Isabel asked, what inspires, motivates you in life? And are you an early riser, or do you prefer nighttime? Okay, well, the second part is very easy. I'm not an early riser at all. I would stay up until 2 a.m. every day and sleep until 10 a.m. if I could. That's probably my preferred schedule. What inspires, motivates you in life? I would say I definitely say art, just art in general. And then also the desire to help other people is probably my other prime motivation in life. Okay, we're almost done here. All right, Eva asked, what is it like in the valley? I always dreamed of going to Cali. So it's generally quite nice, especially where I live, but there's areas where it's night and day, where it's totally like you wouldn't want to go there at night or maybe even during the day. And then 2 blocks later, it's gorgeous. So where I live particularly, it's very equestrian. There's a lot of ranches, there's a lot of horses, and I think it's beautiful. Lots of mountains. You can go for a beautiful drive through the mountains. Okay, and Trey asked, what are your goals for 2019? What sort of accomplishments are you striving for? New techniques, mediums? That's a big question. My goals for 2019 go on for like 2 pages. In terms of building up my channels to different success points that I want. A lot of travel goals that I have this year. Definitely trying out new things, I want to try all kinds of paints and all kinds of crazy experiments. And then I want to do a lot of collaborations with different artists so that I'm out of my comfort zone and thinking outside the box. So those are just a few of them. Cinnabuns75 said, I was wondering if you sing because your speaking voice is so nice. So that's very sweet. And yes, I do. In fact, I'm actually also working on an album this year. And I will tell you guys much, much more about that coming up very soon. But I will be releasing an album this year. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud. That makes it official. Okay. And then my dad said, are you excited? That's Carl is my dad, by the way. And yes, Dad, I'm very excited. There's a lot of exciting things going on. All right. That is the end of today's segment. Wow. That took longer than I thought. I guess I had more to say. All right. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed learning more about me. Thanks for your questions. That was a lot of fun. Like I said, if you have more questions, go ahead and put them back on that original video. I'll post the link down in the description. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And the next segment on this will come up next week where I answer more of your questions. All right. See you guys next time.